Hello, friends, and welcome to the Weekend Catch-Up Club, the coffee morning show brought to you live every Saturday direct to Facebook and Twitch, and available later on demand at youtube.com/gamertagged and podcast services. Grab yourself some snacks, grab a drink, and hang out with us for just the next little while, because my special guest today is the game's music composer of the indie game of the moment, Boyfriend Dungeon, Ramsey Kharroubi. Enjoy. Yeah, Ramsey, we finally organised this. The moons aligned and we managed to not have to reschedule for a third time.
I know. So we were cursed for a while, but now we're past it.
I know. So, my friend, you are the composer of the indie game of the moment, Boyfriend Dungeon, and that's how I became aware of you. And it is such a pleasure to have you on the show. So first of all, thank you for agreeing to hang out and chat for the podcast for this little while. And man, where do you want to begin? First of all, congratulations on Boyfriend Dungeon soundtrack.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm super excited to talk with you. And yeah, where do you want to begin? Where can we begin? It's been kind of a bit of a journey on my end for sure. The game took a few years to come out, so yeah, I'm happy to start wherever.
Yeah. So what? Okay, let's begin. I guess at the very beginning. Then, how did the project come about? It was obviously a collaboration with Kitfox Games, the developer of Boyfriend Dungeon. How did they, I guess, reach out to you, become aware of you as a composer, and then that relationship kind of build into, starting to write the music and crafting the different, the style, instrumental cues, beats, emotion for different tracks that have to go at different sections of, because it's not just writing an album, like a music album. It's got to align with what the player is doing and what you want the player to feel. So I guess that's about 10 questions all in one. So.
Yeah, sure. I'll start at the very beginning. I met Tanya in 2012, I think. So at the time, I was collaborating with Co-op. They're a co-op based indie developer in Canada. They've made Nog, Winding Worlds. They're currently making Goodbye Volcano High. So I was working on Nog with them, and in 2012, I actually really wasn't working on Nog. We didn't know what Co-op's next game was really going to be. We were doing a lot of experimental games and stuff, and I had met Tanya just basically through the people at Co-op, and but nothing ever happened. Boyfriend Dungeon wasn't even an idea at that point to us. I'm sure Tanya knew what she wanted, but but yeah, at the time it wasn't a game yet. And fast forward to 2017, so 5 years later, Nog came out, and kind of funnily enough, Kitfox and Co-op were sharing the same office space. So Kitfox would hear my music in Co-op's offices. So Tanya would walk over, I guess. This is what I've been told, because I don't actually live in Montreal. But she'd hear, Nog, and she'd be like, wow, this sounds unique. That sounds cool. And she knew me. We had already met in 2012. So I guess she trusted me with her new project. She hit me up, and basically the rest was history. Shortly, she offered me the gig, and she said she was thinking to have vocals on the project.
Yeah,
and that's the first time I had ever worked with any kind of real vocals. I had worked with samples in the past. Nog has a lot of vocal samples and a lot of different vocal sounds and stuff, but I'd never worked with a real singer. And she was like, I would like to have some vocals on it, and here find someone that you work well with, a good singer that you think is good for the project. And she left it in my hands. I went and found Madeline through another friend, and shortly after that, me and Madeline were recording some ideas for the game, and yeah, the rest is history, pretty much,
Wow.
as they
So
say.
it sounds like you got a lot of, I guess, creative freedom because
Yeah.
Tanya trusted you. She was familiar with your work on the previous
Hmm.
game. I can imagine what that must have been like, just like maybe poking her head through saying, what is that theme that I'm hearing? That's really, really cool. And,
Yeah.
and obviously just trusting you to say, okay, I am familiar with your music. Like off you go and like go experiment, go have some fun. And you're collaborating with obviously Madeline, who does the
Mhm.
vocals on the album. Great vocals, I have to admit, really, really
I
good.
have to
And
agree.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you're off to the races. So what is
Yeah.
so like where do you start then? Because I'm guessing as a kind of creative brainstorming process, you don't really have like songs as such in mind. Like this is the first song on the album. This is the first song on the menu screen or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's really just a case of trying to figure out what is the vibe that you want to establish? What
Hmm.
is the tone that you want to establish?
Yeah, so we had some help from Tanya. She already had a set of ideas that she wanted, or a set of themes that she wanted us to touch upon. Um, One of the themes was polyamory, for sure. Having multiple partners. Another theme was like being in dungeons or fitting in shapes, like shapes that fit well into each other, like maybe a blade hilt into your hand, stuff like
Ah,
that. So she wanted the lyrics to like kind of touch upon those themes, and then that's how the player would kind of connect with the story.
yeah,
Um, so in the beginning, she gave me a big list of influences, just like general direction, not
sure.
nothing specific. She never said once that she wants something to sound a certain way. She just gave me a general. She already liked my stuff, so it was just a matter of feeding me kind of the direction that she wanted, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I gave the themes to Madeline, and I gotta say, Madeline wrote probably 99% of the lyrics, save for one or two lines that we changed. But
Yeah,
she brought her A game. I mean, she understood the themes right away. She knew exactly what the project needed, and she just knocked the songs one by one. So it was a very organic, a smooth collaboration, an easy process. Yeah, I mean, I can't say good enough any more good enough things about the collaboration. Also, we didn't collaborate in like your typical songwriter artist fashion. Like I didn't sit with an acoustic guitar and she like sang or anything. It was more like I have these kind of song ideas, and then I'd send her the song ideas, and she would just put her spin on it. And we were like, wow, this sounds different. So we didn't put a lot of like so much thought into tailoring. We took what was natural and we ran with it.
yeah. It sounds like it was like the ideal kind of creative partnership, which can't necessarily always be the case. Sometimes it can be
Yeah.
quite difficult to really kind of find a rhythm, find the tone, and banging your head against the wall a lot of the times where it's just maybe you're not finding the right kind of fit,
Yeah.
tonally, musically, whatever. And it obviously seems like that was just like such a great kind of process for both of you.
That was an important thing from the beginning. Like when I was looking for a vocalist, I was looking for because I considered this kind of a big gig for me. So I was like, I need something that's going to be, someone who's professional, easy to work with, totally, and then, yeah, so Madeline was the perfect, collaborator
Yeah.
for
So,
that.
so obviously, writing music for a video game is drastically different from just writing or composing a music album and putting it out there.
Hmm. Yeah.
Because there are different beats that have to happen. There are like I guess filler
Yeah.
themes and tones that have to happen where maybe the player is just idling, maybe they died when you were expecting the theme of the music to flow to carry on into maybe the next section of the game. Can you talk a little bit about like that process, and is that frustrating? Is that like easy to do? How do you kind of know where and when to I guess create these little like filler bits of music, I guess?
Uh, I gotta say, I mean, not without a lot of direction. So, Tanya had a general outline of the songs that she was looking for. So she had an outline of in very general words, basically like sad song, romantic song, fun song, happy time song. So I just used that general outline to just base a pop album off that. So as far as me tailoring individual music to the scenes in the game, surprisingly didn't happen that much, which is why it turned out like a pop album. I actually wanted to it's not that I can't compose for a scene in a game, but I think we wanted to like definitely make it not a typical game soundtrack to begin with. And then also the writing was a bit detached, the songwriting, because being that they're in Montreal, we had to work remotely. Nowadays, everybody works remotely, so it's it's kind of just the deal now. But I wasn't really like playing early builds of the game. I actually didn't really get to play the game until a couple of years in. So I was almost writing the music blindly, without really tailoring anything specific for a scene. I mean, every now and then I'd drop something into Slack, and then Tanya would have a couple notes, or Omar, the extremely talented sound designer on the game. They would have some recommendations, but surprisingly enough, for a game that's very heavy on narrative and moods, I didn't write very much music that was geared towards that narrative. Like, if you can think about that, it's like I didn't have a lot of. It's like Tanya took the music I made and she applied it to the scenarios in the game, but I didn't do that.
It's fascinating because if you imagine like composers scoring a movie, usually they've got like the movie up on the projector, so
that's right.
If they're conducting an orchestra, they'll know that if they've changed the cut of a particular scene, then the music no longer flows. Therefore, they have to re-record or add music, subtract music, and get the piece to flow properly. But it really sounds like. Fortunately,
the music influenced the game in a way.
Yeah. And that's obviously a fantastic like scenario to be in. Yeah, and I think Tanya wanted it that way. I think she like originally hired me to, or asked me to be a part of the project to sort of influence the game with an outside kind of perspective. I mean, I like visual novels, but I don't really play any dating sims. I don't have a lot of and I don't have a classical composing background at all. Yeah. So I kind of have a different take on music than your average composer, I guess. So she wanted kind of a unique perspective, and I wanted to show her that. Yeah, I mean, the soundtrack,
it was a mutual collaboration.
That's amazing because the soundtrack is fantastic, and it's interesting that you kind of referred it to like working as a pop album, because it really does. Yeah. I've had it on Spotify on loop for the past few days, and I think that's the thing. It's such an easy listen without thinking, oh yeah, I'm listening to a video game soundtrack. No, I'm just actually listening to a synth pop like album, and it works on that level as well, which is quite an achievement. It really is an achievement.
That was the main goal. That was like when the project was first offered to me, it was like, I want to make something that people are not going to need a game to listen to.
Yeah.
It's something that stands on its own. It's a pop soundtrack, It just happens to be an overly long one, since the pop soundtracks are usually like, 10 minutes, 10 songs or so, 10, 11 songs. But yeah. But and I wanted it to be fun and stuff to match the ridiculous tone of the game. So,
well, it is. I mean, the premise of the game is fairly ridiculous, but people seem to have completely fallen in love with it. It's like, I can date the weapons that I earn in the game. I mean, it's such a cool premise that is striking a chord, and I hope that everybody who's played the game will resonate with the music as well, and then will go maybe away and then listen to the album kind of as it's. Not as a separate piece, but I thought you know what I mean, where a lot of the time they're not maybe kind of focused on the music, but then it's like, oh, I recognize that theme or that bit of music when I was fighting this boss or doing this thing in the game, and then they'll maybe go away and listen to the whole like piece of music as an album, and of course it works on that level as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, and I did consciously compose parts of it to be that way, so that you would like you're in the dungeon, and you're hearing that piece of music, and then when you go back to it, it stands on its own and as a whole as well.
Yeah. So we jumped right into the podcast with obviously talking about Boyfriend Dungeon. Mm-hmm. Can you explain, I guess, how you got started in music, your first kind of break into that industry, and obviously projects that led up to, I guess, where you are to now with Kitfox Games and Boyfriend Dungeon?
Yeah. That's a big question, man. I started in music like 20 some years ago. High school. I was in high school. I was a 15-year-old. Honestly, before that, when I was a kid, my dad would always put music in the living room, and we would all dance as a family. He'd put like all sorts of genres, like ranging from classical to rock to everything. So that was like maybe my first real taste of just music and in general, and falling in love with different. I was at that time I'd be exposed to Queen and ABBA and Nat King Cole and Pink Floyd. So really diverse, the Eagles, Tchaikovsky, it's different stuff.
Yeah, classics, diverse.
That my dad was pretty much into. And then I picked up guitar at 15. And that was, after that, it was game over. Guitar. I just fell in love with guitar and like all music associated with guitar. And after that, it was like a long period of just different jobs and stuff. I mean, I didn't become a game composer not until, or like just a composer, like just a normal working professional, not until way later, near my 30s. So to get to that point, I had a string of just, I went to some universities, I worked, I did a whole bunch of stuff. So basically, one of my friends from high school, Salim, they started a company called Co-op, and they brought me along to compose for some of their projects at the time. And at the time, they didn't really have any like big, happening projects. They're still like a startup indie company, and they were struggling a little bit, and I was willing to work for not much, and help them out, and they were also working for not much, so it was mutual. And we met Sam Bouchier through Co-op, and he joined Co-op, and he brought his idea with him, which was Nog. And Nog eventually got the attention of Double Fine, and they ended up publishing our game. And then it debuted on PSVR, so we had that going for us. And then that was like my first real, I guess you could say it's my real like breakthrough. But before that, I had Lara Croft Go. We Co-op collaborated with Square Enix Montreal, and that was kind of another bigger project I did. And prior to that as well, I had Orchids to Dusk, which was a collaboration with Co-op and an artist called Paul Calarisu. And just a string of, small indie games. But Nog was like the one that, was like I was putting all my efforts, Co-op was putting all their efforts into.
Yeah.
And when that launched, after that, I got Boyfriend Dungeon. So.
Wow. Yeah.
Hopefully that summarizes the history somewhat.
It's an exciting history for sure. And obviously, I can imagine just how excited Co-op must have been when Double Fine, come to him to say, we want to publish this for you, because Double Fine have such pedigree and reputation within the industry for such rich, exciting, really weird games that it's just so exciting and so original as well. So that must have been an awesome collaboration to say, okay, here we go. Where this is what we can do here, and as we're maybe off to the races with an opportunity with Double Fine, and of course landing like Square Enix for Lara Croft Go. Working on the Tomb Raider franchise for yourself, that must have been a pretty huge deal as well, to say, okay, this is the next thing, and let's build from here and do something even more exciting.
Yeah, for sure. It was an interesting project. Very very short, just a few months, but it was nice. I was happy to be a part of it. It was like my first real taste of maybe working with a AAA. But even then, I was working through Co-op, so it wasn't a direct exposure. But yeah, I'm glad I did it. And really, the Double Fine, it was crazy because as a kid, I played Grim Fandango, I played Full Throttle, I played a lot of Tim Schafer's and then all of a sudden Double Fine's publishing your game, so it's
wild.
It's massive. Yeah. It's like life comes full circle, kind of.
Yeah, totally. Have you had a chance to play Psychonauts 2 yet?
No, I never played Psychonauts when I was little, so I never connected with it like some folks, but it looks amazing.
I'm playing a little bit of it, and it's it's the Double Fine humor, and it's so like weird and creative and funny. So definitely check that out if you get a chance. But so you mentioned obviously like guitar was like the instrument that everything changed with the guitar.
Yeah.
At what point or how challenging was it from going to, I guess, guitar being like a main instrument to the synth style for Boyfriend Dungeon, which is more kind of keyboard focused? Was that just like an easy switch over, or had you always loved the keyboards and the piano, but you wanted to do guitar stuff? And like, how was that process like?
When I started out, I was so into guitar. I was so, I was so young. I was like 15, those ages of 15 to like 25. Musically, I was so just obsessed with heavy metal.
Yeah.
So there in my head, I was just a stubborn metalhead that I had no room for. No, can you believe it? I'm actually writing music now. It's amazing to just look back and be like, whoa, okay, I used to be that way. But so to get to the point of like where I'm creating the synth soundtrack and I'm into electronic music and that kind of thing, it took a long time, like a long time of just developing my ear and seeing what works and what doesn't. That's pretty much, it took a lot of years of just fine tuning and tweaking and opening up my mind. Yeah. Because I feel like I was not as receptive to maybe electronic and synth kind of instruments. I was just closed-minded as an artist. And it took just many years of developing my ear. And that's pretty much it. And falling in love with electronic artists that do things that you like to hear. So that really opened up electronic music for me and opened up the synth world for me. When I started to hear artists, I was like, wow, how'd they do that sound? And that really inspires me to be like, okay, I want to figure that out. And through that tiny process of reverse engineering every day, you eventually kind of crack the code on your own end.
Totally. Yeah. So any plans to release a metal album then, or a project where you get to do like a Mick Gordon Doom kind of full on metal soundtrack?
Yeah, every time I play Doom, I'm like, Mick Gordon had the dream job. Or anytime I play one of those games, I'm like, that's the gig. I wish, I love heavy metal so much still today. I'm like a big, strong metalhead, and I'm always working on my solo metal album in the background when there's chance. When there's time.
100%. So very, very quickly then, like, is there any instrument that like you wish you could not play, because I get you're a musician. You're like John Lennon said, I'm a musician. I'll get a tune out of pretty much anything. Is there an instrument that you'd love to experiment with or get in there in a project?
An instrument per se. I mean, if you consider voice an instrument, I would definitely I want to collaborate with different vocalists, and that's after my first time experience on Boyfriend Dungeon. I've developed a taste for it, you could say. I want to collaborate with other artists, other vocalists who have unique sounds to their voice. And I actually will be collaborating soon on a project, an upcoming project, but I can't say anything about it. But that and instruments in particular, I can't think of anything off the top of my head that that I would want to incorporate that I haven't in some form incorporated already via digitally or physically.
I hear the triangle is going to make a comeback. You could get a little ting in there somewhere.
I always sneak it into my mixes. You may hear it somewhere in Boyfriend Dungeon. Or the cowbell, the infamous cowbell.
Absolutely. You'd be surprised where that can actually fit really well into different themes. So I put out the request on Twitter that I was getting to sit down and spend a little bit of time chatting with your projects with you, and I had some questions come in.
Okay.
from the Twitterverse. Thankfully, they were all actually good questions. There was nothing like I was expecting. Okay, I'm opening up my DMs here. This is going to be like all offensive stuff or just abuse. But actually, we got some actually honest to goodness fans asking some questions. So.
Cool.
A couple of ones were, which are your favorite songs that you have written? I'm assuming that was specifically on the Boyfriend Dungeon soundtrack. Like, what's your favorite ones? Do you have any favorites?
Yes, I do. Let Them Leave and Never Lose are my two favorite tracks.
And why are those your favorite tracks?
Different reasons. I like the aggression of Never Lose. I love how her vocals sound there. I like my guitar solo on it. I like her vocals right before that. It sounds just slamming. Yeah, I just like that track a lot. It sounds. I think it also fits the game in the dungeon areas, like if it's a boss theme. In some when that song's playing, I think you're fighting a boss, and it sounds really good during that moment. It also plays when you meet Rowan. So it just I like that song a lot, and it was a lot of fun to work on. Let Them Leave. I love the lyrics in Let Them Leave so much. They resonate a lot with me. Because you can find the lyrics relatable in a lot of the tracks. So, but that one in particular, I really like the lyrics, and I love the just kind of the chilled out nature of the track, mellowness of it. Yeah. But it's also kind of got like a lamenting tone to it, almost, and I really like that sound. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got a few favorites as well. Let Them Leave is on there, definitely. Twisted Up With Me, I actually really like as well. And
that was the first track written for the game. Sorry.
Really? No. So interrupt away. It's absolutely fine. That's fascinating as well. And I really like the kind of the dirty, dark, grungy vibe of the plunge. I really quite like that. It's got this kind of driving, almost drum beat to it, and it's really kind of quite intense as well, and I really quite like it as well. Yeah, really, really impressive.
Thank you.
And next question. What were your inspirations for the album and any feelings that you wanted to give to the audience?
Different things inspired me. Tanya gave me a list of artists that some of them I had already been listening to, and they had already been inspiring my work. Yeah. Working with Madeline was very inspiring. Writing a track and then having just the track on its own, I'd be like, sounds all right. And then I'd put her vocals on it and I'd be like, sounds amazing. So it was always like the final layer that just brought it all together. Yeah. And that was very inspiring to me. When I'd hear that, I'd be like, oh yeah, she sounds great on it. It fits. Sorry, what was the second half of that question?
Any feelings that you wanted to give to the audience?
Yeah, I wanted the audience to connect with the player, and I think Madeline did a very good job with the lyrics in that regards. I'm sorry, I wanted the audience to connect with the story, not the player. And I think the Madeline did a very good job of writing lyrics that is conducive to that. Like for example, when you're with Seven, I think stuff like the Verona Beach Nights place, and that's kind of like a very intentionally composed K-pop song, and it fits his personality. So it's, and the lyrics too are like, you want my love, you got to work harder, and people connect with that. So that's what I wanted to give across to the player, just the connection that they can bridge to the game.
Yeah. Was there any ever an instance where you had written a piece of music for X song what that you're working on, and Madeline had written some like bunch of lyrics for again X song that she was working on, and you decided that the lyrics actually, now that we put them together, they don't maybe match, but then you start kind of shuffling things around. So like the lyrics that was for a piece of music actually work better for another piece of music. And was there anything like that kind of process, or was it always the case of I wrote this bit of music, Madeline wrote the lyrics for it, and it just like landed perfectly?
Pretty much. And there was some shifting of her parts to make other parts in the song sound more impactful. So maybe on that level, but nothing major like her voice, her lyrics for one song just being put on a totally other song. No, pretty much everything we made together, we were like, sounds good. it can work. And the thing is like, we're trying to keep it as natural as possible, because the more you chip away at it, the less you'll have at the end of the day. So it's like, we wanted to keep it very fresh at all times. So it was like with her, a couple takes, and then we were like, yeah, sounds good. And then, okay, double it. And then that's about it. And it was a very fast and smooth process with her.
It does sound like that. I'm kind of jealous as to how easy this creative process is. No head banging, no sleepless nights. It's just like, okay, this is easy.
Oh, well, okay. So I won't say it was like 100% easy, but I guess the hard part for me was kind of grappling the audio, the vocals aspect of it, because I had never worked with vocals in my life. And so all of a sudden, here I am writing a pop album where I want to mix and master the whole album and do the vocals. And I'd never tried to do something like that. Like when you write instrumental music and you put like a voice over it, you can easily fall into the habit of the voice just either covers all the music or the music covers all the voice.
Right. Yeah. Of course.
So that striking that balance, that's something I labored over. I can't tell you how many hours. Those were the sleepless nights on my end. Just at the computer, just trying to get the mix to sound really nice and punchy and have her voice come through clear, but also not be too clear. You kind of want it to sound like a little shrouded in mystery, and stuff like that. You don't want the lyrics. You want the lyrics to be audible, but not too audible. You want the audience to hear the breaths. Just when she breathes in, that's like an instrument in itself, and that requires a whole bunch of editing on its own. Like I had to, for example, for any track on the album, I had to cut her breaths and separate it on a separate track, and those breaths I would tweak in a various way. Like I would add maybe reverb to them or EQ them just so they would punch more with the music. So there was like a lot of little things like that, for sure. That was the laborious part, because when I at first saw Madeline and I saw her I guess her audition tape, she never auditioned, but she had like a demo song up that I saw, and I was like, damn, she's great. When I first saw that, I knew it was going to be a smooth process, because I was like, oh, she sounds perfect for the job. These are the vocals I want. As long as she's cool. And she was. Everything else will just kind of fall into place. So the rest would fall onto me as to just make the music sound amazing, because I knew she really had the chops to back that up. She's a great songwriter, great lyric writer. You just give her a couple ideas, she'll have the lyrics ready. So all I needed to have was the song, and once that was done, it was the labor intensive part was putting her voice to it and being creative with her voice, cutting it up, arranging it in creative spots, pitch shifting it, just trying different things and experimenting. Again, my first time with vocals. So so maybe go ahead.
No, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. I was going to ask about the process of like EQ and post production, because that's obviously that's a huge time component of really enhancing whether it is whether it's film, whether it's animation, whether it's pure vocals. It's a huge part of the process that a lot of people don't always understand or are aware of, but it is massive, and it can really transform the sound, the look, the emotion of a piece. I'd love for you to just talk about that a little bit, because you obviously mentioned there of how it is laborious, but it is incredibly rewarding as well when it starts to kind of come together and you start to shape different aspects of the vocals, like the breath, like the breathing in, the breathing out, different aspects of Madeline's voice, or picking up a cue of her instrument just to raise it up or knock it down.
Yeah, for sure. Yes, that's where I really spend. That's my bread and butter right there. That's where I spend probably 80% of my time doing is little things like that, little EQ, a little bit of compression, a little bit of limiting, making sure the song sounds punchy, that nothing's going wrong, sounding off. I'm a real nerd for EQ and mixing and that kind of stuff. So I love doing it, and but it is like that's the part where I'll lose track of time. I'll forget to eat. I'll forget to use the bathroom. I'll forget there's a pandemic happening. I'll forget, I'll like
Tunnel
turn
vision,
down
right?
all
Yeah.
basically turn on all my friends' requests to hang out or whatever. All that stuff is really so I like to get sucked into the music and just start manipulating her voice. I told her from the start when we first met that I would be trying to heavily manipulate her voice and just move it around and play with it and see what works and see what doesn't. Yeah.
Were you nervous about working with a vocalist and telling that to the vocalist that you're actually going to change their voice? Because I can imagine a lot of vocalists might be a little bit put off about that. It's like, well, what do you mean you're changing my voice? Is my voice not good enough? Or like, what are you going to do? Or paranoid about what you're going to do with the voice?
Absolutely. I was really, super nervous about it. But she was great about it. She's totally open and interested to hear the different things I would try. And she'd give me honest feedback, and it was good feedback.
Yeah.
And I was definitely nervous about it. Never had tried that before. Usually samples, you don't have to ask anyone, you just manipulate them. So doing that with, but it's a real treat to have a vocalist, kind of assigned to you. It's really like, what an honor. It's great, especially a vocalist you like. If you're writing tracks, it's like you're getting another artist's signature on your track. There's something beautiful to the collaboration.
I can imagine it's quite a rare and wonderful experience when it is such a good collaborative process. And again, the both of you are so easy to work with, and you're both fully on board with I guess the vision of what you're creating as well. You're not like you're not battering heads trying to wrangle it in one direction or the other direction. You're basically in alignment with creating what you're creating. Absolutely,
and she's not. She doesn't play video games at all by any means, and she doesn't even get dating sims. And she's so detached from video game. I think, like she told me, the last game she played was Nintendogs on the DS.
Yeah.
But that's good. I like that. I like that there's somebody who's like completely outside of the games industry, outside of the game sphere. Hasn't heard the other video game soundtracks that has vocals, because that would have biased her in some way. I hope. I mean, maybe, but So I'm glad. I wanted a really unique sound, and I think we got it.
I think so as well. I mentioned I have gushed maybe a little bit too much, but can you gush too much when you're getting to talk to the composer? It's such a rare opportunity. It. Thank you, buddy. I was going to ask again, if you can't answer, don't worry about it. But I'm just going to throw it out there anyway. No, like future collaborations, is there anything that you're excited to be working on, that you'd love to be working on, or anything that you are working on that you can talk a little bit about? Or obviously, if you can, if it's under NDA and stuff like that, don't worry about it. But I just wanted to pose the question.
Yeah, I'm working with some folks from Outer Loop Games, and they created Falcon Age. Excuse me, if you've heard of it. They
I have.
The Falconeering game, very cool VR. I'm currently working with them on their next upcoming project, and it's being published by Annapurna. And it's there is actually a little featurette that was made about the current project. You can actually hear some of the music that I've been writing for it. That's the new thing. I'm really excited for that. I can't say a lot more about it, but that's pretty much the next direction. That's the next big thing for me.
Fantastic. Any collaborations artist-wise on that project at all?
Cannot confirm or deny.
Ooh, okay, fair enough.
But that's the plan. The plan is to have some artist collaborations for sure.
Fantastic, Ramsey. So, Ramsey, thank you for spending 40 minutes or so just chatting about your project, your history, inspirations, of course, as well. And it's been a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to get to sit down and chat to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ross. It's been great. Thank you for having me on your show.
So if anybody wants to reach out to you with any maybe questions or advice about music production, maybe getting kind of started, getting the music out there, where can they contact you?
Yeah, you can go to marskye.com, marskye.com. I also am on Twitter. You can just DM me or follow, whatever. It's all good. Marskye_. Same on Instagram. yeah, that's pretty much it.
Wonderful. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been another excellent episode of the Weekend Catch-Up Club podcast. Again, a massive thank you to Ramsey for taking the time out of his day to sit down and talk about Boyfriend Dungeon, collaborations, and projects that he's working on, past and present, and a little bit in the future as well. I would love to have you back, Ramsey, if you are available in the future when maybe future projects are available to talk about. You're welcome back anytime you like. But until next time, everybody, take care, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.